They buried this knowledge and replaced it with something that expires, a simple white substance found in almost every home, something so common you would never think it could preserve life. But what if this one ingredient could keep food safe for days without refrigeration? Because in survival, food is never just about finding it, it's about keeping it. Meat spoils, fish rots, even cooked food can turn dangerous in hours. Bacteria doesn't wait. Heat accelerates decay, and once food is contaminated, it becomes a risk instead of a resource. Today we rely on refrigeration, freezers, packaging, and preservatives that work as long as power exists. But what happens when those systems disappear? No electricity, no cooling, no storage, just raw food and time working against you. This is where forgotten knowledge becomes critical, because long before refrigerators, chemicals, and modern food science, people faced the same problem, and they solved it using something incredibly simple. Salt. Not expensive, not rare, just salt. So why isn't this method widely understood today? To answer that, we have to go back thousands of years to when survival depended on preservation. Ancient civilizations relied on food preservation for travel, trade, and survival through harsh seasons. In ancient Egypt, fish and meat were packed in salt to last for long journeys. Roman soldiers carried salted rations that could survive weeks without spoiling. Across Asia and the Middle East, salt preserved meat, fish, and vegetables in extreme conditions. Even the word salary is believed to come from salt payments in ancient times. It wasn't just seasoning, it was survival. But what made salt powerful was not just that it slowed decay, it controlled it. People observed that meat covered in salt didn't rot as quickly. It changed texture, lost moisture, but stayed usable. Fish treated with salt lasted days or even weeks, repeating the same pattern across different cultures. They didn't understand the science, but they trusted the results. As time passed, preservation methods evolved, including smoking, drying, and fermenting. But salt remained central. Then came refrigeration, changing everything about how people stored food. Fresh became the standard. Convenience replaced preparation, and traditional methods began to fade. Not because they stopped working, but because they were no longer needed. Or at least that's what people believed. Because the truth is, salt never lost its power. It was simply replaced and forgotten. Today, most people see salt only as flavor, not as a survival tool. But the real power of salt is not about taste. It's about something happening at a level you can't see. That hidden power made salt one of the most valuable resources in human history. It's not just about drying food. It's about controlling something invisible, but dangerous. Bacteria. Food spoils not because of time, but because of microbial growth that breaks it down. And salt disrupts that process in a unique way. It doesn't instantly kill everything. It works through a slower controlled mechanism. Salt pulls moisture out of food through a process called osmosis. Water moves from areas of high concentration to low concentration, creating imbalance. When salt is applied, moisture inside the food begins to move outward. As water leaves, the food becomes drier, and bacteria lose the environment they need to survive. Without moisture, bacterial growth slows down or stops completely. This is why salted meat becomes firmer, denser, and less prone to decay. But salt doesn't just affect the food, it affects bacteria directly as well. High salt concentration creates pressure on microbial cells and disrupts their balance. Some bacteria cannot survive in that environment. Others become inactive. This prevents spoilage and extends the life of the food. But like all survival methods, there is a correct way to apply it. Sprinkling salt lightly is not enough. Effectiveness depends on coverage, contact, and time. Traditional methods required full coating of the food, covering every exposed surface. Sometimes food was buried completely in salt, or layered repeatedly with salt and meat. This created a controlled preservation environment. Food was often left to cure for days or even weeks. This allowed moisture to be drawn out gradually and effectively. In survival situations, time may be limited, so the method adapts. Smaller cuts of food work faster and lose moisture more quickly. Thinner pieces increase surface area and speed up preservation. Combining salt with air drying or sunlight improves effectiveness even more. This is why dried salted meat has been used for centuries as a reliable survival food. It is lightweight, portable, and long-lasting, ideal for travel and harsh environments. But it's important to understand that salt preservation changes the food. It won't taste fresh, and the texture will be different. But it remains usable, and in survival, usability matters more than comfort. If this method is so effective, why is it rarely taught today? Why do most people never consider it as an option? Part of the answer is convenience. Modern systems are easier and more predictable. Refrigeration requires no preparation and gives consistent results. But there is another reason: perception. Modern systems made traditional methods feel outdated and unnecessary. Over time, unused knowledge fades away. Not because it stopped working, but because people stopped needing it. Until the moment they do. When systems fail, power goes out, or you are far from support, this knowledge becomes critical again. Something as simple as salt suddenly becomes valuable, because it gives you time. Time to store food, time to plan, and time to survive. Which brings us back to the beginning, a $1 ingredient found in almost every home. Ignored, overlooked, but still powerful. Because sometimes the most important survival tools aren't rare, they are simply forgotten.